Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's WNR561. It's WWE Backlash 2025. I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show, it is the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello. Welcome. It feels so long ago that that backlash happened. So this is gonna be real fun to try and reminisce about it.
Yeah, well, it's nice to catch up in it. Last time we did was the anniversary show, but all been
Yeah.
good since, I hope.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot to catch up on, so I feel like we've got a lot to catch you guys up on, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. Up next, our resident XT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Happy to be back on another edition of the show. And it feels like it's been a while, but to be honest, time is flying by in general. So it's always cool to kind of catch back up and get back on track because it just feels like it's a PLE or something every other week at this point in wrestling.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, last but by no means least, I'm going to get myself across the river. That's the price I'm willing to pay. I'm going to make you stand and deliver and give me love in the old fashioned way. Whoa, darling, I'll climb any mountain. Darling, I'll do anything. Ooh, ooh. Can I touch you? Can I touch you? And do the things that lovers do? Ooh. Ooh, ooh, wanna hold you. I gotta get it through to you. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. When the going gets rough, the tough get rough. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it's Gina. How's it going, baby? Woo! I'm ready.
Thank you for that. And I'm doing good. Welcome on in, guys. Looking forward to some backlash reviews here.
Yeah, I tell you what, my dog loved it. He's just gone fucking crazy. You should see him right now. He
I'm
thought, well, fuck
surprised
it.
he's not already sick of this shit.
Well, and a welcome to you as well. No, again, who knows what could happen here on the WNR? We're going to catch up with all things WWE, but we are going to start with some sad news. Sabu died at the age of 60, the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, death-defying maniac. I mean, from IWA death matches to New Japan Junior Heavyweight Champion, ECW icon, and the innovator of violence, wrestling WWE, WCW, TNA, AEW, Monty. How do we actually sum up the impact Sabu had? Because a lot of wrestlers pass and we talk about the career, but Sabu really influenced a whole generation, maybe more.
Yeah, I really don't think like I think you can't really put it much better than that. Like he was so influential and he was a grind. He was breaking new ground, going out there trying new things, and whether it always worked or not, and whether he left with his body barely being attached to him, like that really happened. There was plenty of time where you watch Sabu wrestling, it was like, why the hell would you want to do that? And he did it, and he just like you said, he kind of just brought a whole style that he personified. Nobody personified that style more than him. And like it was people who could match it and kind of flow well with him, but it was nobody like Sabu, man. And it's one of them situations where you kind of felt it when he passed. How so many people had so much to say about what he meant to them, and why he's one of those people. I mean, even from a perspective of people who probably didn't get a chance to see him anywhere near his prime, or just even see him that long. And you can see people who only watched him from the short period of time. Like, I think people don't remember like that little ECW WWE run or whatever. That was not a long period of time, but like he was so impactful and he was one of the most memorable, wrestlers easily. That even in his short time in WWE, he left an impact on so many people. And I think going all the way back to, of course, the ECW and the death matches, and just, I mean, honestly, at this point, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, but at this point, it's elements of Sabu's matches, stuff that people used to call him crazy for doing. It's elements of that, and like your everyday AEW match at this point. It's elements of that type of stuff everywhere we look in pro wrestling now. And so Sabu is just an unbelievable. He's definitely a trailblazer, and like you said, you kind of felt it, like everywhere. It didn't matter whether they were WWE fans, they were not, the whole entire pro wrestling world, and people who I know who don't watch wrestling, they just remember Sabu because he was that memorable. Were mourning, so it was tough, man. And this is one of the situations where you definitely, we're definitely all gonna miss Sabu, and like you said, his impact is gonna be felt. It's being felt since his career was going on and over now, but it's gonna be being felt into the future too. Like that's
Yeah.
how influential he is. That even in the future, people are gonna be doing stuff that we saw Sabu to try many moons ago, because he's like you said, he's been that impactful already.
Yeah, and again, that's not even talking about history with the kind of the Sheik, the pay-per-view match with John Cena,
Right.
kind of rivalry with Taz, and just everything else. Like you said, he wore the scars of war, and he will be missed. Like I said, a true. Again, I know legend and icon get thrown away a lot, but with Sabu, he truly was, because there's not going to be another one like him.
Exactly. Like it's plenty of other people who are not necessarily carbon copies, but you know that they're kind of in following that mold. It hasn't been really anybody like Sabu. Like even if you want to throw like even if you want to compare Jeff Hardy, like Jeff Hardy was of course rock star popularity and would try anything, but like Jeff, it was even a level that Jeff, it was a level of violence or a level that Sabu was willing to go to that I even think people like Jeff Hardy wouldn't even imagine trying to do every night like Sabu was doing. So, like I said, he's on another level. He's one of the few wrestling characters that I truly believe that, like you mentioned, it'll never be anybody like him.
Yeah, without a doubt, he will be missed. All right, let's get on to WWE stuff. Let me start with Raw, and before we get to the main course, Penta defeated JD. The tension between Austin Theory and Grayson Waller reached fever pitch over a couple of Raws, really, when Austin Theory was forced to face the returning Sheamus, and then the following week it was Waller with Sheamus again. I mean, Jaxie, I'm going to ask you this question. Does anybody actually care anymore about Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, or anything about their tag team?
Sadly, with the way that they've been booked, it just no one expects much to come from them, you know. That being said, I must admit, out of the two matches that both of them had with Sheamus, I was greatly more impressed with Grayson Waller and his match with Sheamus. He did give it his all, and I actually was slightly impressed with the match itself and the caliber that he gave. Um, but yeah, like sadly, it's just I don't know what direction is best for them to go in at this point. They've been booked so badly, for the better part of
Mm.
this whole year. It's like, what sort of re- like I know it sounds bad the way I put this, but you know what I mean when I say what sort of redemption is there for them to kind of get out of this joke sort of character-esque mentality that most fans have now like associated themselves with. Like they're kind of reminding me of a younger Miz like version of like not being taken as seriously of what he originally was when he first came in. Um
Yeah.
so it's like I don't really know how best they need to be marketed to go forward in a more serious manner. Like, of course, I do think that them splitting up is inevitable and it needs to happen. They never were a tag team in the first place. And if they do really want to be taken seriously, they both need to kind of like stray away from one another in order to sort of like break that mold that they both have kind of like managed to cement for themselves with the fans. So
Mm.
I think it's all about time and maybe like going off TV for a bit and doing some new character development work, making comebacks in different ways,
Yeah.
or even writing that into a storyline where they both turn on each other and we see like, one of those sort of like moments where like a lot of animes actually have this as sort of the main storyline where it's like the protagonist and then the other main protagonists absolutely hate each other, but like by constantly pitting themselves against each other they actually better themselves. So maybe if they turn on each other and make each other their worst opponents because they're both sort of equals, it might help with their storyline and their character development. But I don't know. They do need to inevitably split up if they want to be taken more seriously in a capacity where they're going to take more than just the tag team belts. and
Yeah,
be
without a doubt.
placeholders. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, because the thing about him is that he was successful at some point in his career, which Austin Theory and
Exactly.
Grayson Waller,
He
like
had
you said,
he had an impact. He had an
yeah,
impact, but somehow down the line, I especially think it was like a lot of the work that he did. Um, I I think it was back in like, is it 2009 or like a bit later with Shane McMahon and everything like that, just being completely enveloped in the McMahon storylines continuously. Like turned him more into a comical and mediocre sort of like a, a character, not
mm,
wrestler, but character. So then, a lot of like the stuff that he did after that, it just kind of became more comical rather than being taken seriously. And I just don't think it's ever kind of like met that same hype that he did originally have.
yeah, without a doubt. Well, Becky Lynch lashed out at the fans for booing her and then took credit for all of Lyra's success over the last year. This drew out the championship at Nightwing for standing tall, momentum on her side ahead of the title clash. Io Sky beat Roxanne Perez. Afterwards, Julia went to attack the champion with the heels standing tall. Cameron Cross joined Kathy Kelly for a promo, which you wouldn't have seen if you watched the edited version because this was during it. So, still Cameron Cross, as we talked last week, kind of bit of a weird treatment where I don't know what's really going on, but hopefully it'll be more as next month comes around. Rusev wrestled his first match in WWE since February 2020 when he battled Otis. He fucking battered him. Tozawa stood up for his friend only to be beaten down. Rusev punished both of them with the accolade. Gina, what were your thoughts on this? Because, I mean, how did he look? Because we know what Rusev can bring, but we've had full storms in the past from this character.
Yeah, do you know what? It's not that I'm not feeling him. I'm glad to see him back on my TV. Um, I, I don't know. I don't know what it is about WWE. They like to have people return or make big returns or entrances, and then they kind of put them in like a non-story based feud with someone that's clearly like, when I say lower than them, it sounds horrible when I say it like that, but in terms of the wrestling superstar pecking order, that's what I mean, then lower than them. It's it's a bit confusing to me. I don't really understand the storyline that they're bringing Rusev back on. I think he's trying to say that he's going to better Otis and Tozawa for this, but like, yeah, at this point, I just see it as they didn't really want Miro coming in and squashing any of their top guys. So it was either going to be Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, but they're used for Sheamus's return. So
Mm.
let's do Tozawa. I noticed, like, this is how I'm seeing it, you know? Um, for me, it doesn't serve any extra impact for Miro's return. If anything, it's making him just come back and look like a bully. Um, so I'm excited to see him back. I keep calling him Miro. Sorry, it's Rusev again. That will take some getting used to, but I'm glad to see him back for sure. This returning storyline just isn't working for me personally.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. We also Gunther vowing to choke out McAfee, and he says the former NFL punter, has his undivided attention. But the main story of Raw before Backlash was World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso, who kicked off Raw, wasted little time calling out Logan Paul, only for Paul Heyman to interrupt, and the wise men try to justify his recent actions, remind the world of what CM Punk did to him and how Roman Reigns used to control him as well. He said Braun Breaker was phase one of the plan, and phase two is the World Heavyweight Championship, which Seth Rollins needs for power and control. He challenged Jey Uso and accepted for later in the night. And Monty, this was again. I love when WWE does this because I was not expecting it at this point, and it made for a hot start to the show and again a must-see main event.
Yeah, I think this as we'll see as we talk about it going forward, but this and I believe this entire basically anytime they've been given to Celt's new conglomerate or whatever we have going on when it comes to him and Heyman and Braun and Braun, you know, it's really been they've really done a really good job in many ways. And I think that's probably been something you could tell been getting the most attention because, like you said, this was just smart. Jay, and I think it's smart timing too because not only with the new world champion and his history with Heyman and self and so forth. But also doing this way adds an importance to the world heavyweight champion. We talked about this in the past. Especially when the bloodline was a thing. It didn't matter what the other championship or whatever was going on. Everybody knew that Roman's belt was the main worry. But to have somebody like Seth Rollins who we know just won the WrestleMania main event, and for him to place importance on having the World Heavyweight Championship, even when he got Paul on his side, Paul probably could get him on SmackDown to challenge Cena. I know it's a heel thing, but I'm just saying, you can imagine that Seth would have enough power to choose a different belt. But no, we're gonna focus on making the World Heavyweight Champion feel important, and they did that. And then, like you said, it's just one of those things you don't really expect. So it really ticked a lot of boxes and made for a very entertaining, and it made you wonder, like, because we know in the past WWE, like Jey Uso's a babyface, Seth Rollins is a heel in this situation, and he's an established world championship caliber guy, and Jey Uso is trying to prove that he is. So in the back of your mind, if you watch enough WWE, you may be entertained and wait, maybe Seth will take it from him tonight or whatever. So I just like you said, it added something that most Raws or most weekly television don't have, but it added some stakes and it was surprising. So everything about this segment I thought was done very well, and I think, like I said, you can see a difference between the stuff for self angle and then some of the other stuff, when, in my opinion, with just how much effort it feels like WWE goes into telling the story.
Yeah, without doubt. Looked like Seth Rollins had the world title won, but Sami Zayn prevented the Rollins win. Breaker speared Zayn and his rival with chair wielding CM Punk that saved W Universe from Raw's lead villain from winning the title. And then on to Raw talk. And again, I know I'm not going to do like a massive WrestleMania kind of, mount of programs here, but it was Sam Roberts and Megan Morant, and it was Becky Lynch on there. And she basically told the host, in character, maybe out of it. She said, people call her kind of Becky Hogan and stuff like this. And she's not, too old. There's old men doing it over there. You talk about CM Punk and Seth Rollins, and nobody says, oh, move over, old men. Why should she, be compared to someone like Hogan? And Jaxie, this is something that we've actually discussed about Becky Lynch. You can tell it's really pissing her off, because I guess she is trying to do a good thing. But the comparisons to Hogan, and again, she makes a great point where there are people in their 40s in the main event scene in the WWE right now. No one's saying anything.
Yeah, I understand her frustration. I think that like she's looking at it from like an age point of view, but I think that a lot of people are more calling her it like figuratively, in terms of like, because of what she's done, she gets sort of handed things like just booked the way she was booked is very Hogan style. Do you know what I mean? I think that she's reading too literal into the reason why she's being called Becky Hogan. And I don't think that even her being called Becky Hogan, excuse me, sorry, is necessarily her fault. I think it's creative and booking's fault. They had such a great storyline with Lyra and Bailey, maybe being the tag team to go into it. And I think their decision to drop Bailey and put Becky in this situation pissed a lot of people off, and we all get a right to our own opinion on that. I think you might have said this recently about or no, I think Monty actually might have said this last pod, but like sometimes that's the issue with having so much limelight in the media now. There's a lot that we know that goes on backstage in terms of creative discussions and bookings, and the way that decisions can be brought in last minute. So if you're going to go ahead and like expect us to believe that Bailey is truly injured when she confirms she's not, and this wasn't just a power move to get the viewerships up by taking Bailey out and putting Becky in, then like what else do you want us to blame? And we're not going to go ahead and blame creatives' names who no one ever remember who wrote what storyline. They're going to blame the superstar who's in charge of it. Is exactly what kind of happens with Charlotte Flair, because she's put in that storyline because of her name, her fame, her ability to wrestle and capability to hold a show is not the most fan favorites. So she's going to get most of the heat, you know? So Becky just kind of needs to accept it, the
Well, I
backlash.
should tell you what. Nice, I like what you did there. But as for Bailey, Becky Lynch said that she pays $100 a month just to text her best friend, which was a killer line. Fair play to her there.
That was, but obviously that's also not true. So you're not even like getting at Bailey though. You're getting more at Mercedes and AEW. So like that wasn't even like a greater dig at Bailey because we all know that that ain't true. But if anything, that just made Becky look petty towards
I
AEW
know, I
or
liked
in
it.
general towards Mercedes. It is funny. It is funny. I'm just saying, like that was more shade thrown at Mercedes than it was Bailey.
Yeah, to be fair. Right, on SmackDown, LA Knight and Damian Priest beat Solo and Jacob for two. McIntyre Claymore, the US champion, afterwards. Drew looked awesome, and he cut a great promo after. What a guy. Alexa Bliss teamed with Zelina Vega because they are both small. You see? You see what I'm saying? Anyway, they beat Niven and Green. Charlotte said she was going to get back the women's title for breaking the crowd for disrespecting her. She's about to storm off when Jade Cargill made her entrance. Cargill grabbed the mic and told the Queen to get back of the line. And in a surprising result, Nia Jax beat Jade Cargill thanks to Naomi. I mean, Monty, again, it's nice that the Cargill Naomi matches continued, even though I don't think they've had a match since then. But Nia
Yeah.
Jax getting a big win, you know?
Yeah, first of all, Nia and Jade have pretty good chemistry. I think we kind of noticed it, and I thought this match ended up playing out really well in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy, like you mentioned, that they're at least they haven't forgotten about Naomi and they keeping the Jade stuff alive. But you know, in a lot of ways, it's becoming repetitive in a sense. Like you almost expect whenever Jade is wrestling somebody that's not Naomi and Naomi is not already in the match, I expect Naomi to show up at this point. So like I'm not saying that that's bad because like again I want them to keep the feud going, but I am saying I am noticing that they have lost a lot of that creativity that we kind of had at the beginning of keeping this feud hot. So I hope that we can start to reignite it in different ways, whether that's adding a stipulation to a match or something. Because at some point we know, or at least it should come to a conclusion, most likely. And I'm pretty sure right now they're just buying time for Bianca's return, which is I guess coming up. So I think that's gonna really have a chance to make this feud even hotter. So maybe that's more so the thought process behind that. But yeah, man, it was a great win for Nia, and I like the pairing of Naomi and Nia, even though I like that it makes sense that Naomi is not immediately trying to make Nia her partner or whatever. It should be trust issues there because, like Naomi has mentioned, when she was trying to do her thing, Nia and Tiffany made her life hell. So I love the continuity between basically the top four in the women's division right now. When you think about Naomi, Jade, Nia, and Tiff, and then even with the outside stuff with Charlotte and Alexa, they're slowly but surely building something there. I'm not sure, but they're building it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I'm really excited though. I'm really excited for the potential, but we'll see how it goes. Trying not to get too high on it because, like I said, I have already noticed that they're kind of buying their time. But I think when Bianca come back and however they decide to go, but with adding her back into the mix, the women's division of SmackDown can be a highlight weekly if everything is done right.
Yeah, but just be careful though, because nowadays in WWE, two matches will be like a feud. You know, I mean, getting on to McIntyre and Priest in a bit, but when they said
Right.
it was the end of the feud, I'm like, they've only faced twice. But anyway, back to SmackDown, and Fraxium have been picking up the victories as we've seen. They beat the Street Profits. And Gina, I want to get your opinion on Fraxium because, of course, I love them, so I'm biased, unlike other wrestlers, you know. I mean, what were your thoughts on Fraxium at this moment in time? Do you think they've got potential? I mean, my worry is that the flavour of the month, a bit like the Motor City Machine Guns were a couple of months ago.
I mean, this is my exact same worry for them. I like them. I like Fraxium. I have recently begun watching NXT weekly, but without just watching catch ups, I mean. But it's hard for me to not worry about how Fraxium will be treated coming up, especially when you see, like you said, what's happened with the Motor City Machine Guns. And maybe I wouldn't have that much of a worry if they hadn't brought. I think they brought up Nathan Frazier to have a match on one of like the main SmackDown shows. I can't remember who he went against, and it was a great match, but he was currently the NXT tag champion at that time, and obviously he lost. I get it. You wanted to showcase and test the waters, maybe if you were thinking about bringing them up. But again, this goes back to our argument about what we were saying with Grayson Waller and Miz and some of the other NXT stars that have recently come up and just kind of got that mid-cardy treatment. It's like, how are you going to expect people to take them seriously if they're treated the same way? So I am intrigued to see how Fraxium can possibly, make themselves stay on that top playing field, rather than be like City Machine Guns, who I personally feel have been on the top for like maybe 2 3 weeks, and then now I've kind of forgotten about them again. Like even when they turned up on the most recent SmackDown, I was like, oh yeah, these guys. When I was trying to think of some tag teams, and that's not meant to shade the Motor City Machine Guns in any way because I think they're good wrestlers. But again, they're for me, it's not been very memorable because they've gotten. I feel sorry for calling it this, but the Waller and Theory treatment. You
Mm.
know,
But
I
yeah,
just don't want that to happen to Fraxium because I think they're a good tag team.
it's like DIY as well. We know they're a great tag team, but it just hasn't the
For,
connection with the
yeah, for
crowd
some
is not
reason
what it
it's
is.
fumbling. For some reason it's fumbling with DIY, and I don't know why because I did feel quite excited when they were reunited again and they decided to do their heel characters because I think they work better as heels than faces. Um so I don't know why the ball is dropping with them, but there's not really much hype, is there?
No. And you mentioned who Nathan Fraser faced and lost to. It was Ray Phoenix. And again, what happens when the Lucha Brothers arrive? Because we know it's going to happen. Phoenix and Penta
That's
are going
it.
to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so you kind of worry what's going to happen. Anyway, Alistair Black beat Carmelo in a battle of former NXT cornerstones. Andrade and Ray Phoenix beat Los Garzas. Berto stood up for Santos and no one cared. And then the final segment was John Cena. He came out to a lot of cheers and the crowd still sung John Cena sucks. Someone threw a beer bottle in the ring and Cena just shook his head and threw it away. He spent 10 minutes trashing the crowd and also Randy Orton having to go at his dad and his grandparents and missing the drug test as well. And then someone in a hoodie and a mask, Sean Spears, tried to hit an RKO and John Cena took him down. It's all the ruses. Orton showed up and hit an RKO moments later. Now, Jaxie, I don't know if you know this, but Cena has, I think there was like a visual of every end episode of SmackDown or Raw he's been in, and he's always laying flat. So maybe that's not a surprise. But the beer bottle, is it real or fake? Because I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about that on Twitter. I'm not really sure what to believe, but I think that it's just always just poor taste. Like again, we as the fans need to remember kayfabe, and I think doing things like throwing litter into the ring just makes you a little bit pathetic.
Yeah,
So whether it was by choice or not, yeah, it just came across poor in my
I do,
opinion.
but a couple of things. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you first off, you aim for the face, and again, his throw might not be that great, but you aim for the feet. And second off, how many wrestling shows you been in? They don't let you take in fuck all. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, so it's not.
yeah. I mean, again, exactly points taken right there, you know?
They
So
sell
I don't know
beer
what
though,
they
man.
expect.
They sell beer, so you can get a beer. You can get a beer bottle. Trust me.
I'm just saying. I
But
don't know.
the point, my thing is what happened to the game. I love. That's all I'll say about that. You saw that ring when Hogan turned.
Mm,
We
yeah,
didn't
no,
kick
yeah.
people out. We didn't kick people out for throwing stuff in wrestling when I grew up. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they shouldn't have did it because I don't mind it. That's fine too. But I'm just saying it was some dirty ring back in the day. People used to throw all types of stuff at wrestlers, and that was part of it. I'm not saying I understand that the rules probably should change. That's fine. I'm just saying that it was funny to me to watch everybody talk about it. And I'm like, I mean, oh, whatever. Like, I doubt it was fake because I'm an American. your average American who sits at these shows, especially by the time the main event get there, your average Americans consume 3 to 4, 5 of those beverages. Most
Yeah.
likely, it depending on how much they like wrestling. So, yeah, it's very possible. Now, why would he throw it at Cena? Like, what Cena do to deserve it at that moment? That's the real question. Because at least with Hogan, he had just turned and they was all upset or whatever. So, yeah. So I don't. That's probably the reason. My biggest conspiracy theory is the timing of it. But other than that, seems pretty real to me because our idiot fans do a lot of stuff like that around here.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll move on to the countdown to Backlash May 10th. It was 2 fucking hours because they hate me. It was in St. Louis with Cole, Biggie, and Wade. We had Byron Saxton, Pete Roseberg, and Jackie Redmond. 93 times Randy Orton and John Cena has faced. That's just one-on-one. 10 PLE matches, both on 5 each, which I thought was quite an interesting stat. Lyra is embarrassed for believing Lynch. Vic Joseph joined the panel. Cole said he deserves an opinion. Good for him. We get a good video on WWE Games, but no THQ low. Jackie Roseberg replaced Wade and Cole. Barrett sit down with Orton. Send John Cena itself. We've got a dominant view. He said he's scared of Penta. Fair play to him. Pershad Hopkins sang the Star Spangled Banner. I mean, I don't know. Monty, it's pointless, isn't it? This is good background, but nothing else. You get nothing from a 2 hour kickoff show, I don't think. I didn't get anything from it.
And that's why I let you watch it for me, my boy.
Well, on to the main show, and Backlash opened with the United States Championship featuring champion Jacob Fatu, Damon Priest, Drew McIntyre, and LA Knight. After a brief standoff, Knight went after Fatu while McIntyre and Priest paired up and took the fight out of the ring. Knight and Priest tempted worked together against Fatu, but it lasted all the 30 seconds before McIntyre started taking out everyone. We got a massive chant for him as well, let's not forget. Fatu started taking everyone out with some high-risk offense. Priest McIntyre fought into the crowd and not going through a couple of tables near some production equipment. That looked like it hurt Drew. Can we check on him, please? Well, it looked like Knight would put Fatu for the announce table. Sokoa showed up and pulled him off. Jeff Cobb shocked LA Knight by attacking him from the crowd. Fatu looked confused, realised what happened. He took advantage of the situation, finished off the megastar, and retained his US title. Gina, what were your thoughts on this? I thought this was a great opener.
Yeah, it was such a fun match to open with, and it got everybody hype. Especially like you said, after that 2 hour opening, it's kind of like, the crowd probably went to sleep because there wasn't much but just recaps on all the storylines for each match that's happening in a couple of hours' time. So it was a great match to start out with. And I was just like you. I was like, can somebody send a med team to Drew, please, in the aisle crowd? That just looked painful, especially because if you looked slowly at Drew's head, it actually ricochets off the floor.
Yeah.
So I do hope that he generally is okay. I think he was okay, but still, it was a nasty bump to take, and that took, like, Priest went through that table just as much Drew did, so that took them both out. So I kind of wasn't shocked with where the ending went from there, but I enjoyed this match, and I thought it was a great opening for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that confused me was when they said Damien Priest screwed Drew McIntyre again. I know Drew had it won, but it was a matchup, and he was in it. So again, I don't really see. I understand what they were trying to do. Drew, like I said, I think was injured. He was wearing green, so he was losing anyway. But Jaxie, what did you think of the arrival of Jeff Cobb?
I mean, well, yeah, I think everyone said it right. I think I expected this. I kind of didn't know if it was going to be I felt like it was more going to be WWE just because I know that his most recent departure from New Japan had like he'd had a lot of drama with some of his co-workers. And I didn't know whether or not he would want to go to AEW where he would potentially be crossing over and working with them again. So I thought WWE might be the way he would go. Plus, I feel like WWE would be a good fit for Jeff Cobb, although we'll discuss his name change shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But not really, like, I've got some issues with the name change, but yeah, overall I think, like, right there and right then, it was definitely an OMG moment that actually was a good shock. Like, this is where you use, like, sort of like, surprise arrivals, like, to its best. And I think that this was like the perfect way to introduce Jeff Cobb to WWE, is bring him in to the Bloodline storyline, especially because it kind of does work. He does look good with the Bloodline at the moment. So, I'm definitely intrigued to see what he's going to do from here. Especially because I swear this came sort of like the same weekend that we saw Gabe Kidd like arrive in AEW. So we kind of probably should have saw this coming,
Yeah, without a doubt. But Monty, you were saying Jeff Cobb and Fatu have some history as well.
Yeah, look it up. Jacob Fatu, Jeff Cobb. I don't necessarily know every. I want to say they fought in MLW before, to be honest. But yeah, they definitely fought in the past numerous times, and it's one of those great independent rivalries. So, that's why when the whole bloodline thing came, of course you got the people who trying to figure out is he really related and whoop whoop whoop. He's from Guam, so relax. It's not it's not another Samoan, uh, but the connection there, in my opinion, because of his history with Jacob, if you know, makes sense just from the perspective of what it seems like Solo is already preparing himself for. Because I think we all know with the way the crowd reacting and all of that, Jacob is that guy, and I think Solo know that. But I think he also knows that with Tama gone now, Tonga Aloha still hurt. He needs he's gonna need backup whenever Jacob do eventually possibly turn. And I think Jeff Cobb is that answer to that problem, even if we haven't seen them explicitly go there yet. But I'm just saying because I know their history, they always have something to lean on if they whenever they choose to finally go there. And I think, excuse me, and I think wrestling wise, him and Jacob would just make magic as they always have because you got two deceptively athletic guys and doing what we do. I mean, you guys watching Jeff in New Japan, so you know what he's capable of, and you know what Jacob has been doing in general. So I honestly, I just say if anybody want to see maybe a precursor to what they could see in the future, maybe by the end of this year, who knows how they decide to fast track or not do this whole bloodline problem that we kind of can see already. But I definitely recommend looking up Jeff Cobb versus Jacob Fatu anytime they fought. They've always gave a great fight.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the US title will be used right with Fatu as champion. I think more like a Gunther IC title reign towards world champion. I'm really impressed with LA Knight in this as well. So we'll get scores. Gina, when you start us off, we're going to give us that 5.
I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. Jaxie?
I enjoyed this match. I'll give it a 4.25.
4.25. Monty?
Yeah, it was a great opener, 4.25.
Well, cool. I'm going to give this a 4.5. I thought it was really, really good stuff. Predictions, the WNR Prediction League 2025. This is after WrestleMania Night 2. We've got 3 prediction leagues. The first off, the bonus league. Monty's on 14. I'm on 12. Jaxie's on 11. Gina on 9. The WWE, which focuses on today. Monty, Jaxie on 4. Gina's on 3. I'm on 1, unbelievably. AEW, Monty on 2, Gina on 1, Jackson James yet to score. We all went for 2, so we're all on 1. And the Women's Intercontinental title bout was up next. Becky Lynch was out first to battle a former friend, Lara Valkyria. Both women were all business as they made their way to the ring. The man scored the first real takedown, talked to her opponent, but she let Valkyrie get to her feet, so they square up again. The champ took her down into a submission that tied up all 4 of her limbs. This is pretty cool. She swung her as well. Big Time Beck spent a long time in control before Lara began to make a comeback. Crowd broke into dueling chants, but the people cheering for the champion were just a bit louder. Lynch grew frustrated after her finishes failed to win the contest, so she grabbed a chair. While the ref got rid of it, she then removed the turnbuckle cover. This led to the ref being distracted when Valkyria should have had the match won, but Lara ended up winning anyway after counting a pin, and Lynch attacked her and put her into disarmor as soon as the match was over. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this?
This match, good. This match was just frustrating. I think, I just don't really get. I don't really understand with this outcome. I don't really get or understand like why do or any of this storyline like with Becky. Like, I don't know, it just kind of felt like a pointless win. Becky just chatted shit and then just like, got herself undone by a roll up pin, and kind of like, she's there spouting all this talk and stuff like this, but then like can't even like, about how she's earned this, how she's done this over and over again, but she can't overcome a roll up pin. uh I don't really know what story they're trying to tell here. So I think, if anything, this match just annoyed me. And I don't think it's because of I lost the prediction point. I think it's more from a point of, well, why did you do this whole thing then? Why did you do this whole thing? Like, the whole reason why Becky turned on Lyra was because Lyra was the one to get pinned and lose the title. Just for you to get pinned. Like, it just, like, this whole storyline ever since Becky returned with Lyra has been pointless. It's just
But
pointless
you're not
storytelling.
a fan. That's
of,
what
of
I'm
just
getting.
of
You're not
just
a
the
fan of it.
storyline. Like, it doesn't really feel like we have accomplished anything from the very start of Becky's return to now. Like, but like her turning heel and her point did not come across with Lyra picking up that win. So I just don't understand what this whole storyline was about. It kind of just felt like it fell flat. So yeah, that's all I have to say about it. It wasn't my
All right.
favorite match of the night, to say the least.
Fine, fine. Monty, I thought this was actually quite good. I think better than people may be expecting, because they didn't know Lynch and Lyra had the chemistry from NXT days.
Man, this match was a banger, dog. Like they went out there and they hustled. And the one thing that I understand like what you're saying, Jackson, but the one thing I disagree with the most about this is like what we've actually achieved here. Like I do think the turn and all of that, maybe the execution of it has been a little clunky, but from the person from getting Lyra, who people know she's great at wrestling. Usually you give her time, she always win the crowd over. But like the way that crowd was reacting to them and their wrestling, and how Lyra, in my opinion, looked in after overcoming all of that and beating her against all odds. Because in my opinion, I feel like most people would definitely agree that Lyra would be the underdog here. Most people would agree that we would expect, because of what we're used to, because of who Becky is, you expect Lyra to not be able to win, whether it's through hook or by crook. I even expected like Becky to just outsmart her or do something sneaky, and she tried, but she still couldn't beat her. And I think it works perfectly because of what Becky is saying about age, because of what Becky is talking about pushing us out and all this type of stuff. Because the funniest thing about all of that stuff, whether you all the way understand where she's coming from or not, I believe that it's a true thing in women's wrestling that a lot of them have to hear. Charlotte at 39 said this to Tiffany Stratton about, you'll be lucky to still be getting booked at my age. It's a reason why she said that, because it ain't that most women who get to that age group are done wrestling. So like, and they're definitely not on top of the card as champion. So it's a true element there, and I think when you have Lyra being the young Irish, wrestling prodigy kind of deal versus Becky, that's a part of the character of that. But it's not even just that. I just feel like overall, if let's say screw all of that with Becky's character work, Lyra, in my opinion, whether people want to admit it or not, this has done wonders for her. For the first time in her little promo back and forth, you got a chance to hear her speak and actually and like out microphone Becky, who usually that doesn't really happen to. And then you got a chance to watch her go in there and showcase, like you mentioned, James, that wonderful chemistry that they have from a technical standpoint. And that's what I saw. Like they went out there and they wrestled their asses off. So just from a pure wrestling standpoint, even if you're not into what they were doing angle wise or the outcome, I get all that. But from a wrestling standpoint, just from like going out there and hooping and showing what you can do for 20 minutes for two ladies, and we talk about consistent women's booking and all that, I thought they represented themselves very well. And I actually like this better than the four way when it comes to wrestling. Like I really was into it. And I was shocked. I picked against Lyra too, and I was pleasantly surprised and shocked that Lyra won the way she did and all that. This is one of those times where I don't penalize you for a roll up because it was like she was trying to survive at that point. She just outsmarted at the end. But like you said, Jane, maybe I'm a little biased because I remember how great those matches were in NXT, and this was kind of like that same ilk of that, if you know what I mean. Like to me, they picked up right where they left off. I don't know about you, Jane.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think this is the difference. Is they've done it for a couple of reasons. It's picked up from the feud from NXT, so people to watch that they can enjoy it. But I think it's showing the crowd that Lyra is obviously not on the level of Lynch, but like I said, has more wins over Lynch than many do over the last few years. So I think
Right.
that's what they may be trying to tell. And Gina, and again, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you've got the Becky Lynch thing of being in a position she turns heel, but for this surprise with Lyra, I think it's quite good because we know Lynch probably going to win the feud as it goes along.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are trying to tell it in a lot as a longer standing story and feud between them. But because Becky made such an impactful return with this, it does, I think it just feels shocking that she's kind of just taking the L's here. Like she didn't necessarily take the L with the tag belts, but still she lost them 24 hours after winning them with her so-say friend and her return. And then to lose again to Lyra, yeah, it definitely feels like it's a bit of a slap in the face. How are they doing that, especially when they brought her back? So I feel like it's got to be a longer telling story that they want to do because I know that they'll probably put Becky as taking that belt from her. um, they're not going to chuck Becky straight into the main women's title picture again. So in my eyes, it will still be Lyra's belt that Becky goes for it in the end. But it's not that I'm not mad at it, but I'm also not jumping at the chomp for it. I think there's better women's storylines being told on SmackDown, still, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we just need to give more focus to the IC title and, like I said, the US title as well. The mid cards ones that we're seeing. But I thought this was really good stuff. But scores, Jackson, what would you give out of 5?
I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. Monty
I gave it 4.5.
and Gina.
4.25.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.5. Predictions. We all went Lynch, so we're all on one. Intercontinental title match next. Penta versus Dirty Dom. The rest of the Judgment Day came out with Dom, but didn't go all the way to the ring with him. Mysterio was able to get the upper hand for a moment, but Penta's veteran experience allowed him to turn the tables. Unfortunately for him, all the experience in the world won't help you when your opponent uses dirty tactics. Carlito tried to distract the ref so Finn Balor and JD could interfere, but the official saw and ejected them from ringside area. But it was El Grande Americano showing up, hit Penta with a headbutt while the ref was dealing with the Judgment Day, allowed Dom to hit the frog splash and retain his title. Monty, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, Dom's a made man, isn't he?
Yeah, man. I thought Don was excellent here. He pulled out a couple of those moves that he say he don't like to use all the time, and you can kind of see, you can tell like the reaction of the crowd when he was able to successfully do a couple of them. Because it's funny to me how he still surprises everybody. But yeah, man, Dom is really good, and I think this was a solid match for him to get that defense out the way. My only not critique, but if I had anything negative to say about it, it would be the El Grande involvement. At this point, it's just so. It's like I said, certain elements is getting very overly repetitive, and but I do understand because I kind of think that this whole Chad Gable slash El Grande thing is starting to feel like a vehicle, not only because of the partnership with the with AAA, but it's also starting to feel like a vehicle to show Phoenix and Penta, for that matter, that you guys need each other. I don't know if that's what we're getting at, that we're gonna force them together, because I just feel like it's been a common theme of Ray Phoenix and Penta both kind of getting screwed by the numbers game, no matter necessarily who is being they've been going against, but mostly, of course, with the involvement of El Grande. So, that's kind of my takeaway from it. I thought the match itself was good, and I thought the crowd was into it, but my like I said, my biggest critique or thing I didn't really care for was like another run in from El Grande.
Mm.
But I think I will forgive all of this if the end goal is let's send the message that will finally get the Lucha Bros to work together, or maybe they just need to be drafted. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if one of them gonna go to their GM and ask to leave so they can be with their brother. I don't know, but I just hope that I will forgive all of this El Grande mess if the end goal is to get the Lucha Bros together.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt, I agree there. But again, with Dom, quickly, I mean, how cool is it for Dom that you learn something new about him? Like he's his godfather is psychosis. I mean, how fucking cool is that? His gear was a tribute, so three legacies
Lucha
on his
Royalty.
back. You know, that's what I'm talking about. You know, Dom's gonna have to turn face at some point. There's a couple of things I really liked. Gina, I'll ask you about Finn Balor's looks. If you start looking at me like Finn Balor looks at Dom, we're in trouble here. You know that.
You mean his jealousy looks
It's
at
just
Dom?
It's just how does Dom not see it? It's in his entrance. It's in
He's
the exit.
naive. You gotta
Dom
be
is just
naive.
oblivious. He's just
Yeah.
dumb. He calls himself Dirty Dom, but he's just dumb Dom.
I mean, look at how easy he was won over with chicken nuggets. This is Dom we're talking about, remember?
Exactly. But one thing I will say is that it would have been nice to possibly have, Dom actually win this match by himself cleanly, and for him to then go back smugly to like Finn to be like, yeah, I deserve to have this belt. Like something like that would have been an interesting turn and twist, for him to be like, no, I don't want any interference. I don't want you guys coming out. I'll win it. But then again, with the help of El Grande Americano, obviously that was still always going to happen. So yeah, it's a bittersweet moment, and Dom is just seriously dumb for just missing all of those signs with Finn. It's just like you said, plastered everywhere for him to see.
And Jaxie, one of the things I really did like was Dom hitting the Oblivion. Because the amount of times you see, the women's and the men's move, and it's Dom paying tribute to Liv. And again, Dom just
Yeah.
gets better every time I see him.
It was a really cool moment. I think Dom really had some standout moments in that match, and I think overall the match itself was actually really good. Like him one on one with Penta, like they both had some really high flying moments. They worked really well together as well. I would quite like to see them one on one again without any interference. But I just have the same one like issue with it, and that is just sort of Grand Americano's interruption. But again, I'm also in the same mind as Monty. Like, if this actually leads to like both brothers eventually coming back together and reuniting, like officially on WWE, so that we can officially like get him like taken out for good, then this interruption will be like one of the payoffs. So I'm hoping that this has a bigger payoff, because he's just kind of becoming a bit of a nuisance at the moment. So I'm really hoping the Lucha Bros feel the same, and as Monty said, get together and just like kick his ass, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. Right, so scores then, Monty. What would you give out of 5?
Give it 3 3/4.
3 3/4. Gina
Yeah, I'll go same 3 3/4.
and Jaxie.
Same.
Yeah, I'll go the same as well. Predictions, we went Dom, so we're all on 2. Up next, Gunther versus Pat McAfee. And the ring general seemed all too happy to toy with McAfee at first. They locked up, he shoved him down. On the next lock up, he whipped McAfee to the mat in a headlock. Every time the announcer tried to mount a little offense, Gunther would just swat him away and put him down. When McAfee tried to hit some chops, the ring general let him hit a few, for he leveled him with the one big hit. That was great. Even a running kick from the former Indianapolis Colt angered Gunther more than it hurt him. McAfee managed to string a few moves together, but was shocked when Gunther kicked out at one and immediately stood up. Michael Cole pleaded with Gunther to end the match several times as he watched his colleague get decimated. I tell you what, though, the chutzpah on Cole to get up and mess with Gunther, fucking credit to him. McAfee refused to tap out, so the ring general pulled Cole in the ring and dared him to take a shot. They milked the ending for all it's worth, and McAfee finally passing out to a sleeper to give Gunther the win. But surprisingly, the ring general showed McAfee a little respect before leaving the ring. Gina, what were your thoughts on this?
Okay, so I thought it was a good match, especially for Pat coming back for sure. I know that there has been like people upset about this match being made for Gunther, saying that it's kind of relegating Gunther down. You know, he was the champion and now he's fighting a returning Pat McAfee. Um, I thought it was still a good match. I still think that Gunther looked good. I think Pat was able to get a little bit of offense in, but ultimately we never believed that Pat was going to get it over Gunther. I'm glad with the ending that he made like Pat pass out, but I wouldn't exactly say it's Gunther's best match. We know that we've seen Gunther have great matches out there. Still, my top one of my top ones is him versus Sheamus numerous
Mm.
times. Um, so no, it's not Gunther's best match, and I can understand what some of the fans are thinking in terms of him being relegated. But in terms of, you know, not having a storyline for him at the moment, but still having him on the match card in some way, I don't think it was an awful match that could have, you know, we could have had something else, like some other celebrity come in for a little parody match with him. I think
Yeah,
it was good that it was Pat that had that match with him. So
yeah,
yeah, I wasn't mad at it. I thought it was a good way to end as well with, you know, him passing him out. And like you said, Gunther kind of got a little bit of respect for him in a way. So I liked that. Yeah. So I thought it was good.
yeah. I mean, like I said, some people would hate this no matter what, you know. But the thing is, it's interesting. I mean, Jaxie, I'll ask you this because I think we did mention him earlier. Uh, Pat McAfee for me is like the new Shane McMahon. Do you know what I mean? We'll just let's put him in a match and see what he does. He kind of does the same shit, apart from jumping from high up, you know.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by that comparison. It's not necessarily a good thing, but it's also not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I have a lot of like similar views, I think, on this match. I think that for me, I wasn't as invested in this match until, as you said, James, Michael Cole kind of got up and like got involved. Like it really did then give me sort of like the Mrs. Dad vibes, you know, like him trying that them trying to stand up to like Shane McMahon almost sort of thing. But it was nice to see because I think the moment Michael Cole got up was the moment I got like my investment was like, you know, my full attention was on that match. Because firstly I was just like, God forbid anything happened to Michael Cole. I don't think he could handle it. And not from Gunther anyway. Like I think he would be dead after one chop.
Yeah.
So
Imagine that
I was
chop just breaking his chest.
yeah, I could just imagine like it incites just some sort of like heart attack or something within Cole. And so like my worry for him like shot up to 100 real quick. And I think that's where my investment really like started in this match. Like I was watching it the whole time through anyway, but I think that like again, as you said, towards the end of the match, just like Gunther, I grew a lot of respect for the amount of punishment that Pat took, you know.
Mm.
Not many people could handle that long a match with Gunther. You know, for us, it looks like it was only over a minute, but like you know, for them, well, or especially Pat taking everything, all of those hits, um, it could be like hour. It could feel like hours. So I was impressed with how much he took from Gunther. But yeah, I think ultimately this did what they wanted it to do, which was to show that Gunther is in a very bad mood and he does not care about bullying. He will like absolutely rinse into anyone who actually acknowledges his loss. So he's a perfectionist. What do you expect from like the ring general?
Yeah.
This is what it needed to do. And I think Monty might have said this a few pods ago about Pat soon having to go off for an NFL season. So from a kayfabe storyline point of view, like this worked well to sort of like discuss like reasons why Pat might go off.
Yeah, well, I'll get on with that when we talk about Raw in a minute. But you
Okay.
talk about Michael Cole's more biased than JR ever was, and credit to Wade for calling the action. But Monty, we kind of knew what it was going to be. Like it wasn't going to be a 5-star match, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I mean it was what it was. I think if you came into this with expectations to be for it to be something that you've never seen before, something special, you might be disappointed. But at the same time, I think if you expect Gunther to get a lot of offense and and maybe Pat to do a couple things and not give up. I think that's probably you got exactly that in my opinion. I don't. I mean, I don't know. I understand the sentiments around Gunther, but my whole thing is that, like I always say when it comes to Gunther not only has only lost less than 5 times, he's literally been no one. I've never seen anyone booked remotely as good as Gunther. So, I didn't really have a problem with him getting lumped into this McAfee stuff from a perspective of Gunther. But I did have a problem with it because that moment that everybody feels for Pat McAfee, oh man, Gunther gave him respect. I would prefer that to happen to a baby face I'm trying to build. And I think to me, this whole situation just kind of crystallized that I don't think right now on Raw, besides the world heavyweight champion, who is a baby face who would gain anything from getting beat down by Gunther to where we were like, oh, okay, well he got Gunther's respect. You know what I'm saying? Right? We don't have that guy in my opinion right now. Self is a heel now. I mean, Sami Zayn, we've already been there. Gable is a heel now. Like, give me a baby face who could have benefited on the Raw roster from this moment. And we don't really have any singles baby faces. I mean, maybe you could say like a Penta, but Penta's like we talked about, got his own thing going on. So to me, I think that's my thing about it. It just kind of crystallized where we seem to be at from a babyface standpoint on Raw. Because other than Jey Uso, I don't really see anybody who's a baby face in a singles capacity building themselves up on Raw right now. So uh, I think that's kind of why how you end up with a Pat McAfee because Pat is a good promo, and like you mentioned, James, he's kind of dependable in the sense that he's gonna at least give you something entertaining every time he's been in the ring for the most part. So shout out to Pat for doing a good job, but I was of the understanding that this was setting up him leaving, but I don't necessarily know if that's gonna be as soon as I was thinking. So yeah, man. I don't know, man. Like I said, the match itself fine for what it was, because that's about what I expected. But yeah, the moment of Gunther showing respect and garnering all that sympathy to have all of that just for a commentator instead of somebody who could use that going forward in other feuds or use that to get them more over. I think that's the kind of thing that kind of frustrate me a little bit as the viewer. But other than that, this was good for what it was.
Yeah, without doubt. Right, so scores 10 out of 5. Gina, what would you give it?
I'll give it a 3 3/4.
3 3/4. Jaxie?
I think the same, to be honest.
Monty?
Yeah, 3 3/4.
3 3/4. Yeah, I'm going to give it 3.95. Predictions all went Gunther, so all on 3 in the main event. Well, for the last time ever, John Cena and Randy Orton would face off for the WWE Undisputed Championship. Entrances. I mean, Randy Orton got the babyface pop. He was worried about it early in the day. He was mentioning, but how he got a great reception, and they took a beat before locking up for the first time. Neither man gave an inch, so they broke the hold, circled each other, and locked up again. Orton poked Cena in the eye and sent him out of the ring, which angered the 70-time champion. After Orton got better with Cena a few times, the champ tried to leave the match. The Viper chased him back down and brought him back. Once they got in the contest a bit more, this turned into the kind of bout, well, these two always have. Both men survived finishers from the other a couple of times, and the ref was taken out twice near the end of the match. We saw the Vipers still seeing his finisher to put him through 2 different tables. Cena took out the second official, showed up for anyone to be able to count. When Orton hit another RKO, the Viper looked befuddled as producers filled the ring, but nobody made a count. He RKO'd SmackDown general manager and then basically everybody else that was in his way. R-Truth ended up stopping Orton from hitting a punt, allowing Cena a low blow from behind. He nailed the Legend Killer with the title, and the ref crawled back in to make the count and declare him the winner. Cena got the mic afterwards and said he needs competition, and this is what the last real champion looks like. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that there was like a lot of time given to the entrances. I think like I'm not necessarily sure they needed to be that long, but then we all know how long Randy likes to take as it is. Um, but yeah, like I think this match was okay. I think it didn't need to go as long as it did. It was a good match between like both of them. Like they again, like you mentioned in a previous match, is kind of like them picking up where they left off all those years ago and stuff. So there was a big sense of nostalgia around it. Um, I don't know. I think that like I'm just not very into John Cena's like persona um during all of this. So like I feel like he's just quite an irritating champion. So this did what it needed to do, but I didn't really believe that it was going to change hands here. But I also feel like there's still a lot of bittersweet feelings when it comes to sort of John Cena winning the championship the way he did and everything that comes with it. So I'm just like I feel like this end result, like just kind of left me still feeling like, okay, well, where do we go from here? You know?
Yeah,
So like even
yeah,
though I expected this end result, I still am like with this version of John Cena, I just don't really know what to expect or who creative have in mind as like future opponents. I just don't know where we go from here at this point or who if not Cody again, like who they're looking to like build up to take this from Cena. So yeah, like I think the match was there. It did what it needed to do to like continue John's like sort of like persona and everything that he's babbling on about. But I just also was like, okay, well, what's next then?
yeah. Well, this is the thing. I mean, Monty, do you have our truth in your bingo card? I mean, because again, he had been kind of, what had been foreshadowing it, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I had him in my photo card, but I did. I hoped because those segments where him and Jimmy Uso, who I guess they just need to find something to do for, those segments and all of the whole John Cena stuff every week. I was like, well, they have to be showing us this for something because they're not even as funny as Truth's usual shenanigans. So, so I kind of chuckled when he showed up because I was like, well, at least we got some payoff for those pointless seeming, backstage segments. But yeah, man, I definitely didn't see. I definitely going into it was not saying, oh yeah, R-Truth was gonna play a big factor in the main event. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things that, like, I feel sorry for the people because I know plenty of people do this. Feel sorry for the people who don't watch, uh, like everything there is to watch on a weekly basis from SmackDown and Raw. Because if you only catching up, and let's say you chose not to watch the 30-second, Jimmy Uso and R Truth segment, you probably don't have any clue why the hell R Truth is there. So yeah, so like I kind of felt good as somebody who watched too much of this junk. It's like, yeah, well, at least it's a reason for that.
Yeah, it
But
matters to
yeah,
me. Yeah.
right. Did it make a lot of sense in general? Probably not. I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't understand exactly, other than the fact that R Truth is crazy and he feels like seeing his childhood hero. But yeah, I don't. I get maybe some people don't even think you need to explain what R Truth does at this point in his career. But yeah. So, but again, the match itself, I'm gonna be that guy. These are like I talk to you all the time, James. These two guys were like literally my era. Like that's my childhood. These are the people I watch. Add in a Batista and of course Young Punk and Undertaker at the end of his and Shawn and when Hunter was towards the end of his, like that's what I grew up watching. And I've always been a Cena guy. I love Randy Orton. As a matter of fact, my uncle would always tease me because he was more of an Orton guy than I am. So like, that's kind of the game we played when it came to this. And I'm gonna be honest with you, whether it's Cena as a babyface, whether it's Randy Orton as a babyface, they just don't do it for me. In my opinion, they just never have. They never have had that match. Like that's why I thought was so
Yeah,
amazing to me
I agree.
watching yeah, watching so many people hype up what this was gonna be online, and I saw so many people. I saw WWE themselves using old legends interviews, talking about some of their greatest moments and matches. I'm like, well, if you edit up the match, I'm sure this Randy Orton John Cena match looks great. But I remember watching a lot of those, like you said, 90 something main events.
Again, why I said that the nostalgia of 101, that's all it
Right,
felt like. That's all it felt
right. And I'm not that guy. Like I like nostalgia, but it really gets. I'm turning 30, people. I'm very bitter
Again,
when it comes
we
to
got
like
Netflix for that.
right.
You guys gave us all of them back from like those eras. We can watch them anytime we want. We don't need that now.
And they were just doing the greatest hits. Like you think about what they actually were doing from a wrestling standpoint, they were just doing stuff that we've seen them already do. So I get it from the sentiment of one last time, but like in my opinion, the match would have to be different. And the only thing that was really different to me about this match was that finish, I guess you could say, or the fact that Randy is supposed to be the good guy. So again, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I was looking at it too negatively because I saw people online as the match was going on talking about how great this was and how this was so much better than the Cody match. And I'm like, it was better than the Cody match because we didn't have Travis Scott to worry about. Like, it's not better than, like, they're not doing anything so crazy wrestling wise. Like you said, it was a lot of nostalgia. And I get it. I love both of these guys. I understand what nostalgia can do, but this was not anything that we haven't seen before, but it was cool to see them go out there and give you one last like playing of the tune that we all have heard many times. But my thing is that some people act like Randy Orton and John Cena is a classic tune. To me, it was always a just okay tune. So but we kind of got it drilled into our head that this is the tune that you need to watch. So to me, I've always been a not so Randy Orton. Like I thought Cena was better with Cena did better stuff with Edge. I thought Orton had better matches with other guys too. So to me, it was always funny to me how they've always been pitted together as this crazy feud. But it was cool to see how those fans in St. Louis seem to be really into it though. So that's one perspective that I won't take away from it. The fans seem to enjoy it, and so that's a plus. But yeah, and I don't know, John. I don't know about you, James. We'll give it time. But so far, I feel like everybody definitely owes Cena an apology, and not because of his gimmick, but for all those years everybody begged him to turn heel. And to me, this has been pretty bad for me overall. Overall, the whole run of his retirement tour, based on what we thought it was gonna be. Oh my God! Like we gotta stop booking in our heads because maybe that's the problem. Because the end result of heel Cena right now, from a main event standpoint, and just what we've been getting weekly, isn't it ain't been good enough to me.
No.
But that's
My
it.
issue is in a few years' time, I look back and go, "What? That's what they did for John Cena's last year," rather
Right.
than kind of, But again, we don't know. It might improve. I didn't. People were upset this was the last match between Randy Orton and John Cena, but like you said, we lived it. Thank you very much. We don't need it. Our
Exactly.
our truth is not over. Is night is not over. Anyway, one thing I have noticed, and I don't know about you, Gina, especially in the main events, the commentators won't speak and let the music and the crowd take over unless they're doing adverts and Netflix has just blanked it out. But for me, I quite enjoy it because I'm not hearing about dude wipes every 2 seconds, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think I've learned how to drone out the commentators, although sometimes Michael Cole will just wake me up with it with a oh, and another hit, something like that. So, I mean, I can't say more than what Jaxie and Monty have already said about this match. For me, again, it just felt like a nostalgic match that they put on for, the legends of all time sort of
Yeah,
thing. So that's how it felt to me. I completely agree.
yeah, and like I said, it's a shame Cena didn't go heel when he could still go because I think that is what has affected him now, where he hasn't got the work rate that he did. But the crowd loved it, so what do we know? So scores out of 5. Jaxie, what would you give the main event?
Um, I, I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. Monty,
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give it a 4.
give it a 4. Gina.
Yeah, same. I'll go for.
You'll go 4, and I'll give it a 4 as well. Yeah, this is all right, wasn't it? So predictions all went Cena. So final scores all on 4. So the WWE Prediction League, I'm on 2, Gina's on 4, and Monty and Jaxie are on 5. So congratulations, another win. And Monty, I know you usually get the congratulations, but Jaxie, I think you've won every WWE event this year. So and you were horseshit last year.
Wow. Do you know what?
Yeah.
This is my comeback. I said this at the very end of last year. This is my comeback. Watch this space, guys. Watch one day soon. I'm gonna get a clean sweep all by myself on WWE. I can see it happening now.
Yeah, fair play, fair play. Right, so we'll do overall then. So match, Gina, your match was Lyra versus Lynch. If I look at the rating there, who's your MVP of the night and what's your rating out of 10?
I'm gonna give my MVP to Drew. Rating out of 10. Uh, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. 7. No, 6.5. 6.5.
Oh my God, 6.5. Jaxie, your match was the US title, just MVP and rating.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jacob. And I'll give it a 7.
Give it a 7. Monty, your match as well. There's a tie between. No, it wasn't. It was Lyra and Lynch as well, wasn't it? Sorry, I lied.
Yeah,
Rating and
Lyra.
MVP. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving Lyra my MVP. I'm going with it was a short one, probably about an 8. I don't think it was like a crazy insane pay per view, but it was solid. I think solid is the best way to describe it overall. So yeah, I think it was a solid pay per view. I feel like depending on your expectation, they should have at least, in my opinion, met most people's expectations unless they were insanely high. But from what I heard going into this card about how not good this build was, I thought I came away from a pretty good show, even despite that. So I think I get maybe I'm high because of that. But yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.
Well, I'll tell you what, watching this after ads taken out, it was 2.5 hours. So for me, it was just like a takeover. And you know how much I love that after the slogs that we've had
Yeah.
before. So, like I said, MVP Lyra, matches opener, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 because, again, it wasn't too bad. Onto the press conference with Jackie Redmond, Pete Roseberg, and Big E. Fatu said, you saw the look on his face when Jeff Cobb showed up. He has no idea. He said his life has been a speed bump. That's why he's all gas and no breaks. And if we've got more of that about Jacob Fatu during his US title run, then this man is going to be a fucking huge baby face. Dom joined the panel. He said he's the greatest Intercontinental champion ever. He doesn't need fans. He just needs his family. Triple H, he mentions Harley Race and says Orton was worried about being booed. Drew was banged up and praises the card and says it's the biggest domestic backlash. John Cena interrupted. And in departure from his recent appearances, he said he told the media in attendance that he would be fielding questions with respect for the job that they do. Before he could, he was interrupted by R-Truth, looking to congratulate his childhood hero, which seemed to be fine until he said, even if people think you suck and can't wrestle, prompting Cena to stop, pick up Truth, and AA him through the table on a press conference. Monty, what the fuck was going on here? Like, fair play to him, though.
I think they saw. I don't remember. I forgot who the celebrity or whoever he was who said, "What's the point of having these press conferences for WWE things?" Because they actually did, like you said, for the first time, instead of just going there and talking, they actually did some angle building for like physicality from the first time I've ever seen one. Although it made sense, because that's basically Truth's gimmick at this point. Say something, say too much, and say let his mouth get him in trouble pretty much. But I thought that was fine. I couldn't. I didn't. I thought that was cool, at least from a watching a press conference perspective. I thought because like you don't really expect it to go that far or to for that to even happen that way. So I did. Like you said, kudos to him for doing something different. Because like you gotta think about it, most of these press conferences, a lot of times, depending on who they talking to and how good the show was, they can kind of drag on, especially by the time we get to Triple H just talking about all the money they making. So for them to
Yeah.
do something like that, yeah, it was like, okay, cool. That was nice. So I didn't have a problem with it. And even I also didn't know it would lead where it led to. So that was also a nice surprise. 'Cause I actually thought that was it. I thought that would be it. I thought he would just put him through the table and Truth and him would never really interact again. But that was not what's going to happen.
Well, I tell you what,
But
that's
yeah,
why I say it's good to have a PLE every couple a week now because they have to build during press conferences and shit, don't they? Like,
yeah,
otherwise,
yeah.
they just haven't got enough
They got to use
time.
all the time they have. Yeah, all this
Anyway,
damn content they producing.
yeah, we've got a couple of Raws and Smackdowns, so we're going to talk about Saturday night's main event as well. We'll just run through the notes. CM Punk started Raw, addressing the betrayal of Paul Heyman. Breaker and Rollins came out. Sami Zayn went to help, and Jey Uso made his presence felt as well, which is weird because the heels were outnumbered, but we will get to that. Jaxie, I was talking earlier, and you mentioned about I wouldn't have minded if Pat McAfee lost to Gunther and then took time off, but he'd recovered enough to do commentary. The motherfucker shouldn't even be walking. He should be showing up in a neck brace and fucking.
Right.
Do you know what I
Look
mean?
how
Every
much
night if
tougher
he's gonna do
This,
it.
this was like the biggest thing that
they.
I took away from like the start of Raw. I was so goddamn confused. Like, what are you doing out of bed? Why are you acting like you didn't just
Yeah.
get mashed the fuck up? Like, honestly, talk about like selling factor. Like, that should have been the entry point to say, yeah, Pat, you're off for a few weeks now. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
seriously, this did nothing to make like Gunther look like, incredibly
That,
powerful and overbearing. So I don't know what they were expecting out of like that match, you know?
yep, Pat McAfee just as tough as our wrestler. That's what
Sure. All
that's the
right.
message.
Okay.
That's the message we sent. By the way, he
Yeah.
played punter, guys. On man, he wasn't taking no tackles in American football. He was not the tough guy of the football team. I just want to let you know that.
But
So I know y'all. I know they like throw football player out there and make it seem like Pat is tougher than your average man, but he's not. Like a punter is close to the average man in America as you can get on a football field. Kickers and punters. So I just want to let you guys know it's not because he played football that he was able to survive Gunther. He's
no,
just
but
tougher than the rest than you would expect.
I
He's the
was I was
toughest
pissed.
SOB in wrestling.
But
I'm
again,
out the ring.
even if Triple H was saying to him like take some time off, if he was going to do the Pat McAfee show, you know what I mean, on the Monday and no sell the effects, and I guess it's better off being on Raw and trying to do it. But again, it like I said, bedridden for weeks. You should be.
Right.
Anyway, Penta beat Gable. War Raiders lost to the Creeds thanks to the New Day. They announced that Sami Zayn, CM Punk will face Rollins and Breaker at Saturday night's main event. And the Ring General revealed massive news as well. He will challenge the winner of Uso versus Paul for the world title on the June 9th episode of Raw from Phoenix. Because, Gina, we know how important a Raw episode is on the June 9th show, isn't it? It's like, okay, I get it's a big match, but why then?
Yeah, like if there's a significance about this date, can you please fill me in on what that significance is? Because it's just a normal show to me.
Yeah,
It's
he's
after
like,
Money in the Bank. That's the only
exactly,
thing
yeah,
I got
someone
for
can
you.
cash in. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Somebody's
He's got
probably gonna cash in. That's probably all I got for you. Either Jay or whoever's the champion, and Gunther. If Gunther wins it back, he's probably gonna get cashed in on. That's probably the only way I could add some type of hype because that's the only reason why you would do it then, in my opinion. Uh, yeah, especially
yeah.
announcing it this far ahead.
That's
Like
crazy.
it gotta be
Yeah.
connected to Money in the Bank. It's the only way.
It's not like Money in the Bank card is full. Do you know what I mean? It's not
Exactly.
even
Like
no
he could
matches.
just challenge that Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah, yeah. What we
Exactly.
used to do
So the
back in the
fact that he's
day.
doing it after is telling, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
AJ Styles beat Finn Balor, which should be main event in PLEs, but it's not. We saw Becky Lynch again, not very happy. And then main event, Ripley and Sky defeated Perez and Julia. This was a banger. Rocks clashed with Raylo, so much so they look like tag partners. It's just a little thing, you know. But EO is just so effortless, Gina. I mean, EO's on this lifetime run at the moment, it seems. And the stuff she does is so difficult and she makes it seem so easy. I fucking just love it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. EO is just so cute. I don't know if that's the best way to describe her, but she is. That there's always something that she does that you look at and just think, that looks really easy to do, but in actuality, it really is not. So yeah, I get what you mean. Every time I see her, I'm in awe. So I get why they've kept her champ for this long as well, and I think she deserves it.
Yeah, onto SmackDown, as Solo was having the time of his life. Wanted Jacob to say he loves him, just like the old times. Before any problems between Solo, Jacob, or Jeff Cobb, LA Knight arrived wanting a match, and he got that, and he lost to the newly named JC Mateo. Jaxie, it's not too bad. At least JC's here, he can still wear his old gear.
Yeah, but it literally just sounds like another rendition of JD McDonough. Like it's just like we need to stop doing this and making all of their names like similar but just different by one letter. Like, JD, JC, like it just yeah, I don't know. I was just like what they couldn't have gotten a little bit more creative. I don't know. They could have still kept it JC and had him as Jeff something else,
Yeah,
just like Cesaro became Claudio. Like, yeah.
Jeff Mob. We're
I
working it. We're working it.
Yeah, I mean anything but yeah, JC Mateo. I don't know. It just whatever. Like it's fine. Like I don't have a major issue with it. I just like wasn't impressed when they said it. I was like, really? Okay.
We had the women's Money in the Bank qualifier match. Alexa Bliss beat Meechin and Chelsea Green. Fraxton beat DOI in a match which just warmed my heart. Motor City Machine Guns made the save. And Nathan was ever so happy to share a ring with Saban and Shelley. And I wondered why he was. And this is going back to when Fraser first was breaking into the business. Apparently, the first match that he had as like a pro was against Alex Shelley. So it actually did mean a lot to him, which is always nice. R-Truth gave an interview with Wade Barrett talking about what Cena did, and he said he will face John Cena at Saturday night's main event. We then saw Aleister Black taking on Carmelo's Hayes, which was a rematch. Black Mass finished it for him as well. McIntyre came to the ring, gave a promo about facing Damian Priest. I'm McIntyre's biggest fan, but even I was just like, okay, right, let's get on with it. Second Money Bank qualifier was for the men's match, Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and Ray Phoenix. Solo got the win. I don't know about you, Monty, but is this his first win since beating John Cena? Like, I can't think of the last time Solo got a victory.
You might be 100% on that. It definitely feel like his last televised win was way back when he beat Cena that time. Yeah, he's been losing a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So he may have gotten some when the new bloodline was tried, but even then, those are hard to remember. He probably beat a couple mid carders or something when they were trying to build up him, Tommy, and Jacob.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's probably been a couple in between, but definitely way more losses. So it was kind of cool to see him pick that up, even if the fans seem to definitely want Jimmy to get a chance. So so I thought it was cool. This is a fine match and all of that. And like you said, Solo. Honestly, I don't know what's taking him so long because I feel like this entire and it's working out. Don't get me wrong, because Jacob, but I feel like you could have had Solo win more and still build Jacob up as the monster that he is. I think that's the only problem I got with the future feud that I think we're gonna get out of them too. And maybe that's what this is. Maybe with Jeff Cobb's help and everything going on. I don't hate JC Mattel, by the way. I don't love it, but I'm gonna still call him Jeff Cobb. But anyway,
I call him
I don't
JD. I like to call him JD instead of JD McDonough. So, but again,
JD.
it's not.
Right, Jordan Devlin. Like I know, I remember what it was. So I get why they do it. Sometimes they get a little lazy. That's what I really think. I really think they get lazy because they really just don't want your government name. They want to trademark something else. So I think in the JC Mateo situation, they just asked him, "What's a name you like?" or something like that, and they just went whatever the first two answers was most likely to go after JC. But anyway, I think that's what this whole partnership with Jeff Cobb is going to do. Solo's going to pick up a couple more wins, and that's going to build him up. So if he does something with Jacob, it actually ends up being worthy.
Yeah, without doubt. The main event of this week's show, or that week's show, was Tiffany Stratton putting the women's title on the line against Nia Jax. Naomi and Cargill showed up, but Tiff won clean with the prettiest moonsault ever. But Nia got fucked up with that chair, didn't she?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that chair. clearly wrong place, wrong time, wrong moment in terms of just accidental, blood being shed here. But it was quite it added to the match. It really did, because the match was actually really good between Nia and Tiffany. And I think it just added that extra factor for sure. So I think it worked. And it kind of kept the beef between them still.
Yeah, without doubt. Yeah, and again, Stratton and Jax have got this great chemistry that we've seen. Hopefully, we will see more. On to Raw, Gunther warned Logan Paul. Battle on JD beat Penta and AJ Styles. Money Bank qualifier, Roxanne beat Natalia and Lynch thanks to Lyra. And the other one, Kairi Sane returned to action. Zoe Stark had a serious injury. I mean, Ripley won the match, but Jaxie, no one likes to see this, especially with the recent release of Baszler and Zoe Stark looking for the opportunity. And she has had issues like this before. It looked bad.
Yeah, I think like the worst thing about it is like the moments that I want replays, like we never get those replays, and the moments I don't need a replay, like they replay, and like they after even slowing it down, it looks horrific. So like I really am sending like my best to Zoe, because this is exactly as you said, like the one thing she really did not need in terms of, like a lot of both her partners being let go and her being the only one sort of there to be able to try and like make something of herself. That being said, equally, I think that they had to pull an audible during this, because I do believe that Zoe was probably there to take the pin, especially with the return of Kyrie. I didn't see that like sort of happening, so I think it was probably a little bit disappointing, with the outcome of both like Zoe's injury and the way the match ended. But uh, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I don't know if you've heard an update about Zoe and whether or not she's like been confirmed as like out for however long.
Well, I've not heard anything, but it looked like she might have
Yeah,
damaged her ACL. So if that's true,
yeah,
then she's
yeah.
out.
Well, wishing her all the best either way.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the main event was Jey Uso versus Bron Breakker. Seth attack leading to a DQ. Zayn and Punk helped even the odds. And what a pop for CM Punk as well. On SmackDown, Tiffany opened the show. This leading to a Money Bank qualifier with Julia beating Charlotte and US champ Zelina Vega. Candice LeRae helped Ciampa beat Chris Sabin. Fatu Mateo defeated Jimmy Uso and Ray Phoenix. R-Truth came out to give a promo about facing John Cena. And the Money Bank qualifier, LA Knight defeated Aleister Black and Nakamura. Monty, was this a surprise for LA Knight winning? Because, again, you get these new people coming in, and maybe people thought Aleister Black. But LA Knight has, and we talked about Backlash, he's been hitting every note he's been given recently.
Yeah, I think just depends on your perspective. Like, I do believe, like, I think a great argument for him, like you just mentioned, is his work rate and what he's been doing and how well he has been working. And like the crowd don't seem to be tired of chanting yeah either. So that's another perspective too. So I think he's like you said, he's done more than enough to earn this position, so to speak. And I think as much as you could want that for a new. I think you still got enough time because he just came back to where Aleister Black not getting this spot immediately doesn't really hurt him. You probably just feel the worst probably for just Shinsuke in the situation because he's just so far removed from being relevant. No matter what they've done, they've the new entrance, the look. They've done a lot from their perspective. They probably feel, but they also, in my opinion, have not because I feel like every time he seems to have something building, he disappears. Or even when you win a championship, he disappears. So it's like it's hard to be consistently over or consistently relevant if you're always kind of getting stopped and starts. When it comes to Shinsuke. So he's probably the one I probably feel the worst about in this situation. But for LA Knight winning here, I thought was like you said, a surprising move, maybe, because you do expect the new faces to kind of be able to put themselves kind of like what's happening basically with Julia and Roxanne earning their spots. So you kind of maybe expect that, but I'm not mad at them for not going with that or making that just a done deal. I think LA Knight definitely deserves to be in the match.
Yeah, without doubt. And the week's main event saw Nathan Fraser and Axiom take on Montez Ford and AJ Dawkins for the tag team titles. As Ford prepared for his frog splash, the lights went out. When they came back on the white six in the ring, they took out everyone to make the match a no contest. I mean, even with the dirty ending, it was a lot of fun to end the show. Gina, I mean, the match itself was great. I mean, golden ratio, I think, with Axiom spinning off fucking, I think, Montez. But again, the white six returning, it's kind of what we wanted. And I think it's all good. I think it's good all round.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, seeing Fraxium as a tag team for me is still kind of new territory. So when I saw them even using some of their tag team moves and how well they work with each other, like the chemistry between them is so good, like that they pull the moves off so effortlessly, or as it seems to be effortlessly. And it was just great to watch them in this type of match. And for me, I hope they continue the hype of these two, whether they win it or not. But the ending was also bittersweet for me. I wanted to see an outcome for these two having their tag match, and I was at first slightly confused as to why the Wyatt Six have come back and just decided to take out all these guys. But I also was not mad at it. I really enjoyed seeing them come back, and it was really nice to see them all together. I kind of had a feeling when Candice LeRae came out with DIY, I was like, what the fuck is she doing out here for? Unless somebody's going to come and get involved. We haven't seen her in a while. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just like, what the fuck is she coming out here for? So yeah, it definitely like makes a lot of sense. And then seeing them together, even putting the birthday cake at the end of the show for Bray was just like a nice little
yeah,
touch, and it was just nice to see everyone ready up the fireflies when the lights got low. So yeah, it was a feel good moment for sure. I do hope that Fraxium get another opportunity, which I'm sure they will. But overall, it was a great match. I really enjoyed it, and I think the Street Profits are still doing well, and I like them better still as heels at the moment.
yeah. Yeah, no, I would agree. Yeah. I think the SmackDown at the moment, I think the tag team division might is probably the strongest thing that's keeping it going on a weekly basis. So, to add the White Six into that is going to add intrigue. And the final thing we're going to talk about is Saturday night's main event, which was May 24th. And Joe Tess introduced us. He's with Jesse Ventura, who might look like a skeleton, but still has his voice. We got CM Punk and Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker. And Punk got a big pop when he tagged in and took it to Rollins. They battled through another commercial break, which came very quickly after the first one. Paul Heyman got involved by grabbing Zayn's foot. Ref was too distracted to see Bronson Reed. How can you be too distracted to see Bronson Reed show up? He put Punk through the barricade. Break hit a spear on Zayn to get the pin and the win. But the biggest development was seeing Reed being hugged by Seth Rollins and joining the new alliance. He then hit a tsunami on CM Punk as well. Jaxie, what are your thoughts on this? This was good shit.
Yeah, this was exciting. This literally made me think of Backlash and the return the surprise of entrance of Jeff Cobb. So seeing like Bronson finally return, after such a horrific injury. I gotta admit, I was excited. I did not see him returning and joining Satisfaction, but I'm not mad at it. I'm intrigued. I'd like to see where things will go under Paul Heyman's guise with Bronson Reed. So this has made things even more interesting, I think, within this storyline. So it kind of just has stopped being just a Seth Roman's CM Punk situation, but now we've got like a whole sort of faction here. I don't want to say it's very reminiscent AEW, but like looking at both Mox and Seth growing their like own alliances and factions, and Roman having lost his is very cathartic to see.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering where things will go from here and whether or not we will see Roman return eventually with a faction or not.
Yeah, that's an interesting point actually, because again, like you said, I don't want just Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker to be like cannon fodder to Punk and to Reigns, but like you said, the Hikuleo or someone like that
Mm,
with Roman would make sense.
mm,
And again, it would be
yeah,
interesting to hear Heyman explain because Bronson Reed did try and kill Rollins last year, so
yeah,
maybe it's like, look, you try and kill me, and that's why I thought you're a guy or something. I don't know.
yeah. But it's also given me similar sort of like trust issues vibes already with like
Yeah.
Jeff Cobb and Jacob Fatu and what's going on here. So we're already seeing some form of instability from an outside point of view. So it's interesting to see where things will go from here, adding Bronson Reed into this.
Without a doubt. CM Punk is a company man. There was a nice color
And
coordination.
like, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Bronson just before he got injured have like major beef with Seth? Whereas,
He
am
hit
I?
him with 6 tsunamis and took him out. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
yeah.
So now seeing him return to this, like again, both men who have joined Seth have like taken Seth out. So it's an interesting build of faction. Like, how is Seth even trusting any of these guys right now? It's
Yeah,
interesting.
exactly. Like I said, we won't do out of 5 for these matchups, so we get it along. US title matchup next: Lena Vega versus Chelsea Green. They started with a quick sequence of takedowns and counters. Vega had the upper hand until Green powerbombed her on the floor for a near fall. Unfortunately, a foul 619 from Vega completely stalled her momentum. Got some jeers from the crowd, but a few moments later, Vega hit a code red from the top rope to get the win and retain her title. Gina, what were your thoughts on this? 'Cause I didn't even know this on the card until I started watching it, if you know what I mean, or to SmackDown before.
Uh, do you know what? Okay, I I like Selena Vega. I'm a big fan of hers. I like to watch her on Twitch because she's a gamer as well. So I am a fan of hers. She likes anime. I love all the outfits she comes dressed out as. But there's just it's hard to kind of back her at the moment. There's no momentum. I don't know what it is that's just not working, but I feel like the crowd also feel that same way. So even though like I feel like that I was glad that they had this on the match card and they had a women's match and they are trying to make the US belt, like quite relevant. I don't know. I feel like because Selena Vega was not really showcased as a top runner until she kind of got this belt, there's not really a lot of hype behind her at the moment for holding it, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's not working like Chelsea with her secret Hervis and the persona that she created around it. I'm not saying that every wrestler that has this belt needs to create a persona around it, but Chelsea made it work so well. And it's just not working in that same way for me with Zelina. So that's why I kind of feel like this match slightly fell flat. But I still enjoy Zelina. I still enjoy Chelsea, and all the antics that she pulls. So it was a little disappointing because I did feel like maybe they could have had a better match. But yeah, regardless, we'll see where they take things with Zelina and the belt here.
Yeah, like you said, I think Vega might have a less reaction than she did last year with a championship, which is not a good sign. But again, it might just be Triple H can't book women's mid card titles. Who knows? Not a long match, but we'll see what happens. WWE did announce the second Evolution pay per view. For those who don't know, it's all women. So, of course, Monty, I'll ask your opinion on this. What are your thoughts on all women's pay per view? It's a good idea, isn't it? We should give women a chance.
We probably should be on like Evolution 5 or 6, to be honest. If we just really, I really wish it was something they kept doing, but you know, I love the first one. I love the sentiment behind it, and I'm sure that they'll call legends back and call whoever else back to build this card. But like I say, the fact that it was so many women just let go, and then we have now Evolution being promoted is really weird. And then, like you just mentioned, James, Triple H is, in my opinion, struggling to be consistent when it comes to women's booking. Like you mentioned, especially with these mid card titles, especially with the tag titles, that are now pretty much just whatever, just on Raquel's shoulder. I don't even know if y'all noticed that she just don't she just show up to work to sit backstage with Judgment Day. Since Liv is filming the movie, we've just
I've
forgotten
legit
about
been
those girls.
asking myself, where the fuck is Raquel? It's like she's taking a
Yeah.
vacation or something alongside
Acting
Liv or
like Liv
something.
filming the movie too, right? No, she's
Yeah,
not filming the movie. She's just backstage talking to Carlito.
literally, like, why are we not? We've got plenty of, well, we had plenty of women tag teams, and
Yeah.
instead you just don't do anything with the belts. So
And then
yeah,
like the mid card titles, they haven't been there. They're trying with Lyra, but it hasn't really been consistent. We talked about with just the Zelina stuff. Like so, I'm trying not to be overly negative about it going already because I'm sure they'll still build a decent card, but I'm way more skeptical about Evolution 2 than I was for the first one because the first one was just special, and we were all kind of over the moon with the way women's wrestling was being treated on WWE stage. Finally, so I'm sure, like I said, they'll probably call the Bellas back. They'll probably call some legends and get some storyline. Trish should probably be back. Who knows? I'm sure they'll do something to fill the void and kind of make that card feel special. They do have a couple of
But
like the Jade
please don't
and the
bring Michelle
the
McCool
Bianca
back.
stuff.
We don't need Michelle McCool in a match.
No, we
I'm
need him
just
in the main
saying,
event
don't be
against Charlotte.
right. I'm just saying, don't be
I mean,
surprised.
actually,
I'm
I
not.
won't be mad at
I
that.
agree
That
with you,
will be
but
the
don't be
first
surprised.
time you will ever hear me probably cheering for Charlotte Flair if it was
I think we
against
get
Michelle
Charlotte
McCool.
Jade if depending on where we at in the
That would be
Jade and
good.
Emma, Charlotte and Jade are probably having an evolution, but we'll see. It depends on where we at because we also can still like you still got the depending on where you want to do with Bianca. Of course, you
Yeah,
got Rhea. Like, do you want to do Bianca Rhea 1-on-1 main event evolution too?
that would be
That'll be
cool. I'd
exciting. I don't
actually,
know. Like
if
they
we did
have potential.
actually even have a Trish come back, I'd actually enjoy
I
Trish
can see
v
Trish.
Roxanne Perez or
Yeah.
Julia. That would be quite fun.
Yeah, I can see Trish. I don't know. We'll see. But like I said, I think that's the only thing about this. Underneath it for me, James, I'm thinking about how many women we've already just let go.
Yeah,
How much better this card could have potentially been
yeah,
if we had everybody.
yeah,
But I'm pretty sure they'll build something decent. It's only gonna be what like a 6 match evolution. It ain't gonna be the old pay per views. It's gonna be like 5 or 6 matches. So I'm probably overshooting it with how many legends will be back. But I'm sure people will make an appearance because evolution is supposed to be special. So we'll
Hmm.
see. But yeah, I'm nowhere near as optimistic as I was about the first one, John.
No, right there. Well, we'll find out July 13th. That is when the next evolution. Um, Up next, WWE title match: John Cena versus Ron Cena. R-Truth came out to Cena's music wearing his own version of Cena's gear for a match against the 17-time champion. Cena hit a clothesline before the ref could call for the bell, so the match started with Truth on his back. He looked disgusted as he listened to the crowd chant. Truth escaped the AA and began using Cena's own moves against him, including an AA for a 2 count. Cena eventually recovered and hit the AA for the win. And again, Monty, I don't care what anybody says. R-Truth did deserve this moment. I know it's only a squash and whether it is, but
Yeah, 100%.
And again, did you notice he did John Cena better than John Cena does now?
I was just about to say the one thing I will say about this is like, and I'm not even gonna compare because I don't want to make people who really like the Randy match mad. It's just for me, from my per se, because that was something I never seen before. Think about it, Jay. Like, how many times have you seen a heel? Like, we've never seen a heel versus John Cena literally going against his own baby face offense. And like the entrance contrast with Cena's being a blank screen, and then R-Truth come out with the colors and doing everything that Cena used to do. Like,
Oh, and the
I did get a
T-shirt as
kick
well,
out of
man.
it, man. Yeah, the
Yeah.
T-shirt is excellent. I hope people buy it. Like, that's insane. I got a kick out of this. I don't want to go out and be like it was so much better than the Randy match, but it was definitely something we didn't get a chance to see a lot of, which is Cena fighting from this position, which is the good part of this heel turn, and then seeing R-Truth, like you mentioned, somebody who has always been able to do whatever, make whatever they need for him work, and for him to be in a spot like this, I wouldn't be surprised if this was something Cena asked for too. Just because, think about it, like R-Truth has been kind of doing his offense for a while. He's been kind of doing that for a while, holding that John Cena memory alive, with whether John was on tour or not. So I think it's kind of cool that, in my opinion, most likely Cena asked to give Ron a moment like this. It didn't happen at Saturday Night Main Event. I thought it was pretty cool. Like, I understand some people may think that this is a waste of those few appearances that Cena got left. But honestly, guys like R-Truth who've been in the company this long and actually was in the company before Cena, even though that's his childhood hero. Like I said, I think people like Truth deserve to get a moment like this. And then the match wasn't like, it wasn't crazy. They didn't do anything so uh disbelievable that make John Cena look weak either. So I thought it did good. I thought everything worked out. And I thought it was really good fun. It wasn't meant to be taken so seriously like I've seen some people try to take it as. And I just thought, like you said, if anybody deserves it, R-Truth is one of those people who do.
Yeah, that doubt. Well, John Cena and Jay Uso had a face-to-face backstage with Cena saying a YouTuber winning the world title would ruin wrestling. And Tatanka is here just as they released Eddie Thorpe as well. And we got the steel cage match, Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. And Monty, I said I was going to make you laugh earlier. Jaxie, can I just ask, what happened with Saturday night's main event for you? I mean, you don't mind telling us, do you?
Yeah, I didn't watch it all. I thought that the main event had been I kind of forgot halfway through that there were other matches on the match card. So I kind of thought it was just main event was R-Truth and John Cena.
All right, that's fine. We're fine. We'll cover it. So we did have Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest next. He was wearing blue, so should win. Jesse joined commentary. The Archfiend survived the Claymore, began to fight back with flurry of strikes. McIntyre hit Priest's own South of Heaven chokeslam, but couldn't get the pin. A chair was brought into the ring, and both men used it to the advantage. Priest used it to hit a concerto before he casually strolled out the cage to win. Drew will be taking time off, and if he's carrying an injury into a cage match, that really doesn't help. But I mean, Monty, what were your thoughts on this? Because Jesse Ventura was fucking hilarious. Well, saying, why did Priest walk out? Why did he just walk out the cage?
I love it. I love it. I mean, I love every second of it because those weird ass rules that a lot of us long time fans have been bragging about, have been talking about for a long time about that. Because back in the day, there wasn't no walking out the door. You know what I mean? Like you only going over the top. That was the only way out. And it does begs the question, like, what's the point of the cage match if all you gotta do is get the ref to open the door? Why is this the entire match them fighting for the ref to just open, like just leave the door open and let us run out of the door?
Yeah.
Like that should probably be the entire match, logically speaking, instead of all of the combat beforehand. But just to see him react like that was just real cool, real cool to me because it just reminded me of those old school wrestling days, and like I said, just a lot of fans have been complaining for like those little weird quirks when it comes to that modern day cage match. Uh, so that definitely made me chuckle. The match itself, I thought was good. I thought it was pretty good. Like you mentioned with Drew, he's been hurt already. Hopefully, it didn't get worse in this match. But you never really know. I thought they went out there. I thought honestly, Priest and Drew have done a really good job in general when it comes to the matches. The matches have been really entertaining. I think the thing is like I kind of knew what was gonna happen here. With Priest most likely getting the win, especially in a cage type stipulation. But we'll see what happens. I'm sure Drew will be back. He'll come out. He'll come out of nowhere at some point, and ruin some baby face's time before you know it. But good win for Priest. I thought it was okay overall. But yeah, so I think the thing is now you wonder, especially with Drew being gone for a time, what do we do with Priest? Is it Money in the Bank time? Like what do we do with a guy like him because he is a former world champion, but we know he's probably not going to be on the Cena retirement tour. So I don't really expect a Priest Cena match. So where do you see him, and what do you go after Jacob? Like, what if that's your new focus? Like, what is it that we do with Damian Priest now off a big victory like that? And that'll be the interesting thing going forward for now until Drew returns.
Yeah. Right. Edge was mentioned in the match when he hit the concerto as well. He said it really ages ago. Edge used to do that years and years ago. But this was good. The main event was Jey Uso defending the World Heavyweight title against Logan Paul. A match I originally thought was going to be a Backlash, to be fair. And then it's like, oh, they're doing a Saturday night's main event. They only had about 10 minutes of time. Jey prepared to win with a splash, but John Cena showed up and pulled the ref from the ring. He attacked Uso as Paul looked on confused. Cody Rhodes' music hit, and he ran to the ring to fight John Cena off. Paul missed Rhodes with a brass knuckles and net a spear from Uso before Jey hit another splash for the pin and the win. Cody Rhodes got the mic at the end of the matchup and basically said at Money in the Bank, it will be Logan Paul and John Cena versus Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. Gina, the match weren't that great, But they announced that for Money in the Bank. What are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, obviously I made the stupid mistake that my sister made, so I didn't see this. So I'm finding this out for the first time through you. So I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay, interesting. Um, I'm not mad at it because I wondered when they were going to bring Cody back. And I also know that Jay and Cody are both previous tag champs together. So it's not completely out of the blue that he's now going to tag with him. Um, so I'm not too mad about it, but at what do you know what? I didn't really want to voice this on the pod, but at what point do we start feeling a little bit not sorry for Jay, but just feeling a bit for Jay because it seems his title reign is kind of not being overshadowed, but a little bit trampled on with just the numerous additions of other people helping
Yep.
him out. CM Punk, Sammy, now Cody's back. Like,
Yep.
is Jay really the champ? Because like I don't know. I'm gonna keep my eye on this development because again, I want Jay's like title reign to actually be decent and be like, yeah, he was deserving of that title and he held that title well. I don't want it to just be him being saved by a load of big names who used to hold the belt and are still gunning for it. But overall, I'm not mad about hearing about this tag match between them two because it's always fun when you see Jay and Cody tag together.
Yeah, Money in the Bank's going to be interesting. Like we said, it's 2 weeks' time.
Heel is gonna say what you just said, word for word, to Jay at some point. Just depending on how long this run. I can see somebody literally saying everything she just said about, because like he hasn't been the most important thing at all on the thing. The biggest downside to this to me, James, is that Jay for the next 4 weeks is gonna have to just entertain Logan Paul. That's his number. It still is his number one contender.
Hmm.
Like I was hoping this would make this be over. That's why I was mad when Cena showed up. I was like, really, you gonna do this now? Like, can we just finish Logan and then you can screw him later or something? Like, yeah, I 100% agree with everything you just said. Like Jay's reign so far, he's just not. He hasn't been the most important person, or he hasn't been the factor. He's always kind of been like he's being focused on, but he isn't the guy. He's always kind of being saved by the guy.
Hmm. Yeah, this is the issue. Like I said, but again, WWE got themselves a little bit of trouble because they've got, like I said, a PLE coming up in a couple of weeks with Money in the Bank. And then we know about Worlds Collide, and of course, I think there's a
Yep.
Saudi show coming up before SummerSlam, with
Yeah.
another Saturday night's main event as well. So it's an interesting time. Maybe they take it on too much. I don't know, but we'll find out. Jaxie, I'll ask you just to wrap us all up. What were your thoughts on WWE? Of course, we're dealing. With Backlash now, Saturday night's main event. We're heading towards Money in the Bank. How do you think we feel? Because we've had the post WrestleMania, and now this is kind of like the post WrestleMania as we kind of head towards SummerSlam.
I think there's some like highlights going into SummerSlam as well as like some confusion when it comes to creative direction. I think that there's a lot of maybe expectation that us as the fans but spectators also have when it comes out of WWE content. So I think when we do these reviews, we are kind of giving our very biased opinions and just um in our expectations, but I there's always some going to be some scrutiny behind like the overall decision that WWE chooses to go in terms of direction. Again, overall ups and downs. I think I think the main point that you guys just really clearly brought up is sort of like the direction that they're going with, like the championship. And right now, the fact that like it does seem that Jay can't seem to win a championship match without the aid of others or the interference of others. And it doesn't really feel like it's because of him. It feels like it's because of the belt, more than anything. So I'm not sure what direction this leaves him. I'm not sure what direction this leaves John Cena going in. Like there's other sort of like overwhelming leaders that have yet to come face to face with these champions. So I just wonder which route they're going to take going forward. So we'll see. We'll see who ends up becoming the face of WWE.
Yeah, we'll find out pretty soon as well, it seems, with everything going on. So that is it. Don't forget, of course, all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod. James, you can find the entire WNR team on the banner, also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, you want to plug stuff?
At my Monty Pod on Twitter.
Jackson?
At Jaxie Scarlett on Instagram, Twitch, and Twitter.
And finally, Gina?
I'm on the same at Purple Pain.
WNR also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at WNRpodcast at gmail.com and YouTube. Podcast got same time on YouTube as to do SoundCloud on your phone. Also, we're doing so much on YouTube as well. We're going live when we're doing our shows. And just to prove it, I'd just like to thank Bobby Emerson, WWE Batista. I don't think that's your real name. He thought Randy Orton should have won. And Kieran O'Keefe as well, to name just a few of you. Also, new subscribers as well. It's fantastic, really. Also, Spotify and iTunes, you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. That is it. Our next episode, well, the summer is nearly as busy as WrestleMania time. We've got Battlegrounds, Saturday night's main event, Money in the Bank, Wells Collide, All In, and SummerSlam. But before that, next week is AEW Double or Nothing. Until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Thank you for joining me, Jaxie. And the WWE's a pleasure for you now because of how well you're doing with predictions.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next one. Onwards and upwards, I say.
Yeah, without a doubt. And of course, the mind of Monty. Monty, another win, man. I'm not going to make a big deal of it.
It's normal. It's normal.
And of course, the genius of Gina. Come on, G. We got to do something about this. Come on. I know we won today, but you know.
It's a downfall that I'm not willing to accept. I'm going to come back and try again harder.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I'm trying as hard as I can. Well, that is it. What a weird way to end. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.